I want to ask you something. What did one wall say to the other? I'll meet you at the corner. What's up, good folks? I've missed you. My name is Leif, and I want to welcome you to my channel called Devs and Dice, where I paint miniatures or craft awesome terrain for the tabletop. Today, I'm gonna show you how you can easily create these stunningly, beautifully ruined corner buildings. For myself, this is mostly for my Mordheim board. Alright, so without further ado, let's get cracking.
Alright, so let's start this project by printing out some of these templates. Now these I am sharing free gratis, link in the description. These are quite simple and they're designed to have a 2-inch story height. If you feel that you need more, then of course feel free to increase the difference between the floors. These are also designed to use the Lego windows I've sort of become famous for, or perhaps infamous for. The next step is to focus on the basing, and here I'm gonna use some 10 centimeter wide do-it-yourself coasters that are made of this sort of board or chipboard or MDF I've even heard people call it. It's 3 millimeters and you can cut through it with a knife. Now the templates I glue on with some sticky glue onto 5mm foam core. Once it's there, I cut out each and every one of them, and then I continue cutting out the door and all of the windows. Now these buildings aren't particularly, well, let's say centerpieces, but they're very functional, which I like about them. Cutting through only to one side will create a hinge that we're going to use as the corner. Good idea is also to mark out where that 2-inch floor line goes. This will make it a lot easier down the line to put in the beams at the correct height. As you can see, I'm marking out some changes in terms of material that needs to be removed on the base, and here I'm just beveling the actual entrance of the building. I think it makes it look a little bit more like it was meant to be there. The base is glued onto the actual corner by using hot glue, and this is a low temperature hot glue gun. In a very short time, you will quickly assemble the basic shape of all of the houses, as we can see here. For my exterior main wooden beams, I like to come in with some 8mm balsa wood. This I texture using a steel wire brush just to give it that exaggerated grain look. Once I have a piece done, I break it off, because again these are ruins, and I glue it into the corner. Now for the smaller beams, I'm going to use some 5mm balsa wood. You could go in and texture this, but in all honesty, it feels a little bit overkill since, well, no one's ever going to look underneath that much, so it doesn't really matter. I glue in some support beams, which I actually pinned in just to get a little bit of stability. And once I have them in place, it's time to come in with those coffee stir sticks and white glue on them to create a nice floor. I like to always, when I use white glue, come in with a wet brush in order to just make sure that there's no leftover residue that looks funky or creates shapes that will be picked up by the dry brush. Now, as I said, I bought a whole heap of these Lego windows, and link down to where you can buy them in the description below. I like to glue these in using white glue, and it's a snug fit if you've done your cuts right. And I have to say, I really do enjoy using these Lego windows. They're quite durable, I've never had one break on me, and they are very functional and cheap. Next step is the step that probably takes the longest. It's to plank all of the floors and put all of the facing boards on the exterior and make sort of simple shapes. Now while I was doing that, I also collected a little bit of debris piles and just created small piles here and there. Now the sand texture gel, I bought this product, but you can easily probably use some sort of gravel and PVA glue and create your own paste. Once that is dry, I'm gonna prime it and Zenithal all of it. And while we watch me priming all of that, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of my patrons for their support. And as usual, a special shout out goes to my champion and legend level patrons. Andreas Winberg, Bo Ahlgren, Erik Ortman, 4BXP, Juan Maconesa, Lawrence Davis, Madners, Magnus Solberg, Tobias M, Battlecore 7, Leander, Niklas Svenelind, and Oliver Granlund. Thank you so much, good people, for your support. Another standard in my process is to always come in with burnt umber ink, and the good thing about this is that it really brings everything together, and on top of this you can come in with some light brown colors, and these I dilute quite a lot, and then I wet blend in some brighter beige colors in the center. Now you're gonna see me do this several times. In general, the way I like to do it is that I consider that the default color, so all of the insides have that light brown and beige tone. But some I actually go with green, red, and blue, just to create some accent colors here and there. And like you can see, I'm still wet blending in a sort of brighter center. This is just to create a little bit more of a visual interest and create a little bit illusion of depth. Now once that is dry, I actually come in with a cream color and just dry brush the heck out of everything, even the wood, all of it. Trust the process, it's gonna look quite stunning once done. Now one thing that I wanted to go through a little bit more was how I attach my posters. I use white glue and I make sure to soak the posters beforehand so that the paper can actually suck in all of that white glue and become thoroughly glued to the wall. Worth noting is that I printed these out on a color laser, not an ink printer. I always do some graffiti and such, and I use AK-47's white ink. It flows quite nicely, and I can even create small sort of drops and whatnot. And here you can see that I'm actually trying, even at this stage, to create a story. You saw that Sigmar lives? Well, I imagined that as somebody was writing that, they just got shot. So, of course, their brush went haywire. Now, all of the internal metals of the windows get painted up quickly and put into place with a snap. These window frames, I like to coat them with Typhus Corrosion. That serves two parts. One, it contrasts nicely to the wall color, but it also gives it a little bit of a texture, which is something that makes it look not very Lego. Ryza rust is used to give some accent rust here and there, and then some strong tone and blood for the blood god to get some grime and blood here and there. That someone who wrote Sigmar Lives clearly died.
Before we have a look at the 10 ruined corner buildings we made in this video, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for all of my viewers during the past year. My goal for this year was to come back to Mordheim with a bang, and thanks to you, I did. Enough of me yapping. Let's have a look at the final result.
As I mentioned earlier, these builds are not the most complicated nor the most stunning, but I do feel like they really provide a unique aspect to my tabletop. The corner buildings themselves are quite small, and I love that about them, because that gives it that nice dynamic nature where I can place them anywhere, and that enables my Mordheim table to look different from game to game. This is exactly one of the reasons I fell in love with Mordheim so much. Talking about the table, I want to show you what these look like on the table. And as you might notice, there's a large, or actually two large buildings that I did off camera a while back. Essentially, it's two buildings that has two bridges, one at the bottom and one at the top. The bottom bridge is very destroyed, you might need to jump over it and so on, and there's no cover. The top one is entirely intact and has cover. That's a sort of risk and reward aspect that game designers often think about. That makes it so that players have to think, should I go for the long and safe route, or should I chance it across the ravine here? I really love how my Mordheim table is coming together, and if you want to see how I did these or any other videos, then YouTube suggests that you should be watching these. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.